What's up, everyone? We are in the engine bay of the Challenger. What we're going to do is kind of a follow-up video on the spark plug issues that I showed you with my coil packs before. I've already done the driver's side. We're going to hit the passenger side, or yes, we're going to hit the passenger side. It's a shaker, so that's what this bracket is for the shaker. Those of you that don't have shakers, that's what this is for. Another little interesting tidbit is if you have a shaker, you only get that cover on one side. Spoiler on the coils here. This is the driver's side. There is no cover for that. The reason why is there's an air inlet tube that goes onto the intake box, and it goes, a little oil, goes from the intake box up to the shaker, because the shaker is functional. As little as it does, it is functional, which is kind of cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the driver's or passenger side. When you get to this, this is my catch can. This is not normal. You won't see this unless you have a catch can in here. Typically your PCV line goes from here right to your intake. Mine comes to the catch can first and then over to the intake. So basically this typically pops right off unless you have a catch can, and then it hits right there. So I'm going to pull it off from the back first, slide it back a little bit, and then it comes right out. Powered by, look at that, powered by SRT. Okay, hopefully you guys can see this all right. It's kind of a funky little camera set up here. There, that's a little better. Basically, the way you do this is, see these red little clips? You pop up these clips. You can use a screwdriver, but your finger works just fine. They just pop right up. The catch is I have a little tool over here, and I'll show you, because these things are actually pretty hard to press in. If you have fat fingers like me, to press them in and pull that up. And these are on here pretty tight because they're weather pack connectors, so they have a rubber gasket in there to keep moisture and stuff out. After that, we'll get to the coil packs. I'm going to go back to front, 10mm socket. And I'm going to pull each coil pack, and then I'll pull each plug. I'm going to disassemble the coil packs, or I'm going to look in there first, but then I'm going to disassemble them, and I'll show you that corrosion I'm getting. I had it on every coil pack on the driver's side. I'm assuming it's going to be the same on the passenger side. So let's get going here. Typically I work with some music. However, we all know how YouTube can be with music. So you get to hear my 40-year-old, well, almost 50-year-old man breathing tonight, which sometimes isn't pretty. I don't know. Sometimes a myriad of sockets and extensions and swivels and all of that will make your life a lot easier. You don't have to fight stuff as much. That's something you kind of learn with age, because when you're younger and you're doing things, you're like, I don't have the money, I don't have the tools, whatever. And I've been there, I've done it. It sucks, but it gets the job done. Hopefully, as you progress in your life, you can continue to enjoy your hobbies and stick with them. Enjoy what you do, enjoy your time with the hobbies. And with that usually comes the ability to buy a little bit more with tools and stuff like that. I started out with I think it was a 100-piece mechanics tool set that my stepdad bought me back in 1994. I was still in high school, and he bought that toolkit for me, and I used that pretty much up into my 30s. I expanded on it, obviously, as I needed different wrenches, different sockets, the ability to do different things, stuff like that. Just this year, I actually bought an entirely new socket set. Where's it at? Cobalt socket set. This is their, I think it's 250 or 15 piece, I can't recall. It's a lot of sockets, but that's the kit that I bought. The only thing I don't like is you can barely even see it. The size, that's 10 mil, is etched into the socket. and it's etched, you can feel it, but I've already had one of them where the etching has rubbed off. You can't even tell what size it is. Thankfully, I have an organizer that I can put it in, and I know what socket I'm grabbing when I grab it. This is the tool I'm talking about. It's a connector disconnect tool. This goes on the back side. This goes on the tab that you need to push in, and basically you just squeeze it. It's spring loaded and pull. So, and these are large, so I have to extend this out as far as it'll go. So basically, and don't squeeze too hard, especially if you're doing this on a Challenger or a Charger that is 15, boy, how old are they now? Was it 08 when they came out? 15, 20 years old almost now. Because you can and will shatter these connectors. I've had a lot of experience with these things where, I have to get my other one for that one, where they get old, brittle, and you go to pull them off and they break. Good example is on our Evo. Just about every connector I've pulled off of that thing has shattered. Coil pack connectors especially, so I bought a whole new set of them. Okay, let me get a flashlight so I can see in here. All right, you guys probably aren't going to be able to see this, but if you look in there, see that green and that green? We're going to pull this boot apart. Live on camera, right? That's what they always say. All right, pull this apart. Corrosion. You can look in here, corrosion. Let's get the spring out. Not as bad as the other one, corroded. Like I said, this car came from Michigan. All these coil packs I think are gonna be this way. This car came from Michigan. When I bought it, it's a 2016. I bought it in 2022, I think. Peak COVID car prices, I would guess I would call it. It only had, these are the factory plugs in here, by the way. It only had 16,000 miles on when I bought it. It was 6 years old. So you can imagine how much the car was actually driven. It now has about 35,000 on it. It's 2025. So I put a few miles on it. You know, there's really two different trains of thought when it comes to cars. You have one camp that will buy a car like this, barely drive it, you know, save it as a collector's piece, whatever. You know, it's their prerogative, it's their car, and do whatever they want with it. And I get that. And then there's the other camp that's like, I bought the car, it's made to be driven, I'm gonna drive that car. And I'm in the second camp. You know, it'd be different maybe if it's a Ferrari or a Lamborghini or something like that, you know, that is not meant to be driven daily or just driven regularly, you know, with the maintenance costs on those things and things like that. I'm in the camp that says, I bought the car, I spent my hard-earned money on it, I'm gonna drive that car. You know, and I don't drive the piss out of my cars. I'll drive them hard, but I take care of them too. You know, I don't drive them hard every time I'm in them, but I drive spirited, we'll say. And I think that's how a car's meant to be enjoyed. I mean, you're spending your money on the thing, so why not, you know? Yeah, it wears them down, breaks them down, whatever. I mean, do you really enjoy the car if all you do is walk in the garage and look at it and you never drive it? I mean, yeah, I love the look of my Challenger. I love the look of the Camaro and the Stinger and cars like that. I love coming in the garage and seeing those cars. But what's the point in owning them if you're never gonna drive them? You know, it's just one of those things. Here's my octane booster overuse. I haven't seen any adverse effects on my oxygen sensors. However, I can guarantee you my oxygen sensors look exactly like that. It's basically a byproduct of, I don't know, I can't remember, I'd have to look it up, but I want to say it's almost like leaded fuel, and that's what you're seeing. So that's why it looks like that. corrosion, factory plug, NGK, I think these are iridiums. There's part number. Factory plug on these. You know, I didn't expect them to have new plugs at 16,000 miles. That'd be ludicrous. I mean, unless you're running nitrous or high boost or something like that, I would say, that's with iridium, I think they say 80, 100,000 you can go. You know, this car has 30 some thousand. I'm big into, when I buy a car, especially a used car, I like to do maintenance right away on them. I did not do the plugs right away on this car, partially because I thought, you know, with the mileage on it, I don't want to do that. That's kind of interesting. I'll have to look at that. Now, this is interesting. See that corrosion on the plug? That means at some point there has been water in the spark plug hole. Not just condensation, but water. Corrosion again. So, the real question is, for the experts out there, I have not seen anything that would let me believe that there is flood damage to this car. No smells, no corrosion in the body. The connectors all look fine. I have not seen any corrosion in the connectors. I haven't seen any white, you know, like water. Sometimes the calcium will get on the water or on stuff and it'll leave white lines where the water was, things like that. I have not seen any of that on this car. So, question to the experts. Would that indicate that this car has been underwater or deep in water? I mean, either way, it doesn't matter. I own the car. So either way, it really doesn't matter. But that's just a question for people out there. Let's see. Green. Oh, that one's not as bad. Let's take that one off, see what it looks like. That one looks good. Surprisingly. All right. What about this one? This is right next to it. Corroded. Crazy, isn't it? Just crazy. Other than, you know, I mean, this car, in my opinion, feels like it was very well maintained. I mean, it only had 16,000 miles on it, so you're not even, I mean, outside of oil changes, you aren't really doing much to it. So, like I said, it feels like it was pretty well maintained. I haven't seen anything on this car that leads me to believe that it was abused. It wasn't driven a lot. I will say, when I bought it, the rear tires were about shot. I think I put new tires on it at 20, 25,000 miles, something like that. There's that corrosion again on the plug itself. That's the one that looked good. Which, on a car like this, you don't buy a used Hemi, Scat Pack, RT, whatever. You don't buy a used one in the expectations that it has not seen a clutch drop, or it has not seen a burnout or a donut or something like that. If you go into it thinking that you're going to buy some car used that hasn't seen that, that's very naive thinking. You need to go in thinking that that car has had the absolute piss beat out of it in the short miles that it's been around. Especially anything Hellcat. Just assume that that car has been abused from the day it came off the showroom floor. Corrosion. Ironically, look at the plug on the outside though. No sign of moisture whatsoever. See, it's just crazy how you'll get one that you can visibly see that there's been water intrusion into the spark plug hole, and the one right next to it looks fine. So, just weird like that, I guess. Let's see. On this car, the next thing I'm going to do is replace the front hood seal. I've seen a couple forum threads about it, but I haven't seen anyone do a video on it. So I'm going to do a video on it. I purchased garage door weather stripping, and we're going to put it on there because the seal on here is really weak, and it's a crappy seal, and it costs over $100, which I think is ridiculous. Corrosion. That one doesn't look bad. Let me see. Yep, they're both corroded. So same thing. Let's pull one. We'll pull one off. Corroded. Let's see what the other one looks like. Corroded. So that's just the way of these things, really, in my opinion. It's just kind of, I don't know, it's just weird if you ask me. You know, and then you'll pull some of them. I just did spark plugs on an Eclipse GS. And, come on. Oh, there. Probably helps if I pull that clip all the way up, huh? There we go. Makes it a lot easier. Anyway, I just did plugs on an Eclipse GS, 200,000 mile car. Went back a week later and put on, ooh, am I gonna have to get around that? I think I can get around that. Went back a week later and had to put on a new valve cover gasket and spark plug seals, because every spark plug hole was completely full of oil. So we had to basically reseal everything. So it wasn't detrimental to the plugs. The downside to that, the thing that you have to worry about with that is contamination, you know, wearing out the spark plug boot prematurely because of oil. Maybe getting into the spark plug boot, causing a misfire. That's a big maybe. Mostly, it just makes a mess. So that's really the only thing you have to worry about. Okay, let's get the rest of these plugs out. Got those 4. So while I'm yapping here, if you can see it, yep, you can. Right here is a little, it's a little sound deadener / heat shield for your injector rail. This is the crossover for it, coming from the driver's side. Keeps the noise down a little bit. These injectors on these cars are very noisy for a standard sequential port or fuel injected car, non-direct injection. I think it's just because of the mass amounts of fuel that they have to push. They got to be large injectors. So it's nice that they put those on there. More. Every plug looks like that, by the way. And that's expected. They're nice that they put those on there. However, if you live in an area where you get squirrels, mice, you can't park in a garage, things like that, they absolutely love that stuff. They will chew it up, and they make houses. They'll make nests back here. They'll get into your cowl up here. They'll get into your driver's side where your cabin air filter is. They will literally build a nest on the cabin air filter. Outside of putting some deterrents in your car, you know, like they make little mouse deterrent, like I call them pine bags. It's like a scent that you put in there. So if you don't mind your car smelling like a pine tree, there's those. Obviously poison. I'm not a fan of poison. I live on a farm. We have cats, birds, dogs, all of that. And I do not poison any animals out here. And the reason why is because I don't want one of my animals dying or getting sick because I ate a mouse that ate poison. I used to use it back in the day when I lived in town, but I didn't have cats or anything like that. Now I use more deterrents than anything. If you want to look at a really good one that I have in my old garage, Look up the 5-gallon bucket mouse trap. I absolutely love that. Put peanut butter on the trap and you'll catch mice just about, especially if you live in the country, you'll catch mice every night. I think I had it out for 2 nights and I caught 5 mice in 2 nights. And that was in the garage, not outside. Even then, I still don't feed the mice to my animals. It's inhumane, and they do carry diseases. So if they catch them on their own, fine, whatever. But I'm not going to make it a point to feed it to them. Get on the subject of that. Oh yeah, talking about mice in your cars. I did have a mouse get into my Camaro one year and made a nest in the heater core. Turned on the heater core, or the heater one day, we got in the car, turned on the heater, must have killed the mouse. Mouse died in the car, and that entire summer, the car smelled like dead mouse. The only way to get it out was basically to pull the heater core, and in order to do that, I had to pull the whole dash. So I eventually pulled the blower motor out, and when I did that, I was able to reach a small vacuum up in there and kind of try to vacuum up as much of the mouse as possible. Still sucked a little bit, but it's gone now. All right, in with the new plugs. The plugs I'm running are Denso Iridiums. Let's start that way. Iridium power. There's the part number. I ordered these from, I think it was Rock Auto actually. Rock Auto is one of the few sites I have found that I'm able to order plugs from and not really worry about getting counterfeit plugs or fake plugs. That is a huge problem right now. A bunch of those knockoff plugs hitting the market, and they are everywhere. So when you buy plugs, people will argue about Rock Auto not being a reputable retailer, but make sure you buy from a reputable retailer. That said, I do have an anecdotal story that someone bought plugs from Advanced Auto Parts or AutoZone, one of those two, and those were counterfeit plugs. So it sounds like even still you have to do your due diligence, and I made sure that these were legit. I checked them out up against what they say online about the Denso plugs versus counterfeits and what to look for. I'm not going to go over it. That's a whole different video. You can find them out there, see what they're like. If not, let me know and I'll make a video. So I know that sometimes there's not videos out there on that stuff. Okay, what I'm doing here, sorry, I've been kind of forgetting to talk about steps. I pulled the coil packs, pulled the plugs. Hemis, if you have a Hemi, you know this, or if you don't know it, you're going to learn, have 8 plugs per side instead of 4 plugs per side. It is not a performance thing. It is an emissions thing. Hemi bros, correct me if I'm wrong, one spark is during the combustion process to do the combustion cycle. The other spark is during the exhaust process to burn unburnt gases and fuel to help with emissions and fuel economy. That's from what I understand, and that was years ago when I read this. So if I'm wrong, please correct me. So what I'm doing now is I'm putting the plugs back in. Plug gap, I think it was 38 thousandths to 44 thousandths, or 33, I can't remember, which would be 0.038 on a gauge to 0.044. I went 0.044 simply because an iridium plug does not wear the same as a copper plug. As a copper plug ages, so say I gapped it at 40 thousandths, 0.040. As it ages, that gap will actually widen. And so you kind of want to, I always used to run a tighter gap so you could run the plugs a little longer. Iridiums don't necessarily do that. They just kind of begin to foul out, or you get a miss, things like that. I have seen them wear out though, especially the ground strap, which That little thing right in there is the electrode. This is the ground strap. And this is what I've seen wear on those. On coppers, it's usually the opposite. The electrode will wear first because that's what it's designed to do. So I gapped these at 44 thousandths, 0.044, because I am running a quote-unquote performance coil that they told me creates anywhere from 7 to 14% more spark energy. Not voltage, spark energy, which is measured in millijoules. So we will see what they're like. And when I put them on, I'll show you what I went with. The coil packs that I'm running, I have run on multiple vehicles, mostly imports. I hate to say it, well, I don't hate to say it, but mostly imports. I have them on a Subaru EJ205, and then I have them on our Rally Art Evo conversion. I can't say Evo conversion, it's a Rally Art where we put an Evo turbo on, and we basically did an Evo upgrade to it. It's got an Evo intercooler, Evo exhaust, Evo turbo, Evo exhaust manifold. We did a full mock-up on that. And if you guys would like to see a video on that, we can sure do one. It is not my car, it's my son's car. He bought it in high school for a decent price. He paid for it with his own money, got his own job, worked throughout high school to afford the car, and he loves it. Now, that said, I did help out with a lot of the mods and stuff like that on there. There's a lot of times I'll just take care of stuff for him. For example, he's got a carrier bearing. Now there is a torque setting on these plugs, but these are tapered plugs, and I've always just cranked them tight, which is about 20 foot-pounds. Anyway, his carrier bearing on his drive shaft has gone out, and to buy 2 new carrier bearings is over $200. So I found a place that sold me a brand new drive shaft for $250. The upside is I don't have to press off and on any bearings at all. I just remove the old drive shaft, put the new drive shaft on. Okay. Did I open that? Yep. Here's what we went with coils. NPBoosted is the name. Napole, is that right? Napole Performance Coil Development. People knock on these, whatever. I'm not spending $600 for a set of coils. Even factory replacements are $350, $400 for like NGKs or something like that. I have used these on a lot of vehicles. Full silicone rubber boots. You can see your spring in there. Looks just like the factory coil. It's just this sweet, bright yellow, neon yellow, fluorescent yellow. I don't know, neon yellow we'll call it, bright. I don't know. So I have used these in multiple vehicles. Very nice. You can see that like bright green there. That is like a dielectric grease or a lubricant. I'm not going to go with that. I'm putting my own on just for a little reassurance. Because if you ever pulled spark plug boots off that are glued to the spark plug from heat and time, it sucks. Most of the time you wind up ripping the boots. So dielectric grease, you can buy that any auto parts store basically. Heck, I think even places like Menards will sell it. And I put just a little squirt right there and right there. And then what I do, take a screwdriver. Don't jam it in there because your spring is right there. I just take my screwdriver and I just push the grease down in there in a circle. And I can feel when I hit that spring. But basically doing it in a circle like this gets it all the way around inside that tube, and it kind of lubricates that tube so that you don't have to worry about dry spots or anything like that. So they came with their own screws or bolts that go in there. So I got all the plugs out, all the plugs back, all the new plugs back in, torqued down, and basically you just take these, you stick them in here, just like that. And they're going to bounce up like that because they're new, and so they're going to be a little tight. So what we do is just screw them down by hand. I don't plug them in until I've completely cinched them down. The reason being, it's harder to plug them in, and I like waiting until they're done and torqued down, tightened, before I put the clip back on, just for peace of mind, so that I don't have to worry about I clipped it and then forgot to tighten it back down or something funky like that, you know. Things gonna be a pain. Now, do not crank these down. So when they get tight, just a little nudge like that. You crank them down, you're gonna snap them. And when you snap them, life is not fun, because now you have a brand new cracked ignition coil. And what happens is you get spark bleed. And so that coil will be trying to fire, and electricity will always follow the path of least resistance. So if your path of least resistance is no longer going through the spark plug, it's going through the crack into this bolt, into your valve cover, that's where it's gonna go. And I'm just holding it here as I tighten it down, because I can tell that you got a ways to go still here. And you want to make sure they're snug, because if you leave them loose, they will vibrate these bolts out. And then what happens after they vibrate the bolts out is you will get inconsistent spark on your spark plugs, because I think I'm on there. It's still not tight. You'll get inconsistent spark on your spark plugs because they're not as tight as it needs to be. All right, let's go to my little guy here. This should be easier to maneuver in here. Oh yeah. There we go. That's a 1/4 inch ratchet, 1/4 inch extension, 6 inch extension to a swivel to a 10 millimeter socket, all 1/4 inch. Go. And then make sure your snap lock is pulled out. Click it, push it in. It's 2 coils per box. I didn't talk about that. I paid $179 for all 8 coils. Now, if you have a misfire on your car, like you're having issues, I'm just putting my dielectric grease in, and you're having issues with your car, get it diagnosed, which you can go to AutoZone, Advanced Auto Parts, O'Reilly's, any of those, and you can scan your car for free. They will let you borrow their OBD scanner. So if you're throwing a code and it's a misfire code, find out which cylinder it's misfiring on. And sometimes I think they have the tool that will let you actually see which cylinder. Sometimes those tools just show general misfire. They won't show you which cylinder. It's kind of a cheap deal. So you just need to find out which cylinder you're misfiring on. Replace the coil pack on that cylinder. Now, here's the caveat to that. When you replace just that coil pack, make sure you go with a factory OEM replacement. Don't put a performance one on when the rest of them aren't performance. Factory OEM replacement, because it's going to have the same energy and everything that the factory ones have. There's no necessity to buy 8 new coil packs if you A, can't afford it, B, just don't want to. You know, I'm the type of person that when I pulled out 4 coil packs and all 4 of those coil packs had severe corrosion, I decided that I was just going to do all 8. There's no point in doing 4 and then pulling out the other 4 and seeing that those are corroded. So this is one of those deals as I ramble on. So I'm yapping here, as my youngest would say, just yapping. All right, we're nearing the end, everyone. You've suffered through me bumping my gums for, I don't even know how long, 34 minutes? Good Lord. It's a good thing I'm not getting paid book hours for this. Guys out there that know about book hours, whew, I've seen some shady stuff take place, not from the shop or the mechanics, from the manufacturer. I saw a lot of stuff from Fiat Chrysler back in the day before it was Stellantis, where they would put 0.8 hours on something, and I'd have my 20+ year tech out there busting his ass, and it would take him 1.5 hours to do it, or 2 hours, depending on what he ran into trying to do it, things like that. If you're a service manager out there and you're watching this, if you're a service writer out there and you're watching this, take care of your techs, because guess what? That's how you make your money. Your owner operator, your dealer principal, whatever they like to call themselves, they don't give a damn. They're there to make money. But I tell you what, your mechanics, your technicians, those guys out there busting the ass every day to feed their families, those are the ones that you need to take care of. And you don't worry about yourself. Your money is going to come as a service writer or service manager. And I'll tell you what, if you're a service manager and your techs are happy, you're going to be the damn nicest shop in town. I can tell you that right now. And word gets out. You're going to have guys coming to work for you, coming to ask if they can work for you. You treat your guys well, and women. Treat your men and your women well, and they'll pay you back in dividends. So sometimes take it on the front end and take your loss on the front end. That way on the back end you make up for it. So take care of your people and they'll take care of you. That's the biggest thing. If you're out here like me and you're a shade tree dude and like to do it yourself, take your time. Why rush something? This took me, I started this video 37 minutes ago. I'm yapping. I'm taking my time. I'm not paid book hours to do this. I'm out here on a Monday night and just kicking it and killing some time. I'm probably going to have a couple beers after this. But I'm just taking my time with it. So don't rush. Don't get in a hurry. I will say, for all those, summer's coming around the corner here. For everybody that works in those hot climates, I get it. You want to hurry. It's hot as balls. You got crack sweat going on, swass hitting you every day. I get it. My fellow people up in the cold climates and you're underneath a vehicle and it's dripping ice on you, that sucks. I'll take the heat over ice dripping down the back of my neck any day. Think about it. If anybody's in the industry and you're a service writer or you're a service manager out there and you've got techs you want to keep and you've got good techs, pay them. Don't worry about what the book hours say. Pay them and they will pay you back tenfold. I guarantee it. So anyway, that's my little yap for the night. Coil packs are in. I'm not going to fire it up. I got to put the whole car back together, so I'm not going to fire it up or anything. If I run into issues, I will make a video. I doubt it, but I'm going to put everything back together. I need to adjust my catch can here. Let's go down here a little bit. My catch can is rubbing on the bracket here, and it's cutting I got a little divot cut in there, so I'm going to adjust my catch can a little bit. Maybe I'll just, see, I got is that a hole there? I don't have a hole, but I've got some seepage. Let's see if I can get you guys to see that. Where are we at? Right there. See that oil? That's coming out of the hose. That hose is not torn. There's no cut in that hose yet, but it's seeping. So I'm going to take this apart. I've got some braided hose. Maybe I'll throw that on there. Who knows? That'd look kind of cool, wouldn't it? But anyway, thanks for watching. Have a good night.